A new defensive coordinator, shakeups in the division, and off-season what-ifs, what should be done, and of course, some NFL best bets for the playoffs coming right now in the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Cut back by Chubb. He's to the 10. He's still running to the 5. He dips outside left. He's going in. Touchdown. What a run. Nick Chubb.
It's going to be sick.
Hello, everybody. All right, getting ready for the next round of the NFL playoffs, but some big news in Browns land. We talked about it earlier on the Twitter account with @AndyMC81, @SickPodBrowns, and Instagram @AndyMCSports. Jim Schwartz gets hired. Love it. We'll talk about why it's a good move, we feel, probably for the Browns, and some offseason look at what needs to be done, what needs to be addressed with the limited assets that are available to the Browns after that Deshaun Watson deal. Make sure, folks, click notifications up there. Make sure you click like, share the link. We always appreciate that. Leave a comment down below. What do you think the Browns should be doing this offseason? What's your number one need? And, of course, if you missed the Jerry the King Lawler interview last week, hey, that's why you got to subscribe. It's right in the show section here. Make sure you check that out. That was phenomenal. What else is going to be phenomenal is we revisit the Dog Bowl. We gather around and we bring in my guys, Dave DiNatale from WKYC in Cleveland and Grant Gillian from IDP Guys. Gentlemen, the round table is here. We're ready to rock and roll. How y'all doing?
Doing good, Andy. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Let's go, man.
Let's do it, man. Listen, I don't know about you guys. I was convinced that the Browns were going to hire a young, unknown, unproven defensive coordinator. I'd be like, well, that fits. And then it's like, oh, maybe he'll be good. And I'll spend all offseason talking myself into that the guy's going to be good. But we really don't know. Guys, it's refreshing. And Dino, we'll start with you. It's refreshing to me that we're getting a guy that we know. I know what Jim Schwartz can do. And what I said earlier was like, I like inside the box. There's too much outside the box with the Browns. I want to be inside. Say, put the lid on me.
There's so much to like about Jim Schwartz coming to the Browns. Number one, for him, it's coming home. You know, a guy that started his career in the NFL, working as an assistant to the assistant scout, with really a tremendous bunch of young NFL minds, young football minds. Under Bill Belichick. Including Nick Saban, Ozzie Newsome, Scott Pioli, Phil Savage. I mean, on and on. Kirk Ferentz. And so he's got familiarity in Cleveland. That's always a good thing. Fans love that. But I think it's just a guy that has NFL head coaching experience, NFL defensive coordinating experience, proven success. And I think the right kind of fiery coach to kind of contrast Kevin Stefanski's cool, calm demeanor. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. And I also think for Myles Garrett, this might be the best defensive coordinator he could have asked for or hoped for to be joining the fray for the Browns.
I totally agree. And Grant, with that, with Myles Garrett, I think it is great news because the focus is on the defensive front. And we know that wide 5, wide 9 scheme where they essentially you give the right angles to have your guy go and get him. So what's your thoughts on Schwartz coming in?
Absolutely. I love this hire. Like he just said, he's proven he's a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. He went to Detroit, not the greatest record there, but hey, he does have had
gone to the playoffs, though, Grant. Got the Lions to the playoffs. Hallelujah.
But what I'm excited to see is what he does with our personnel. Unfortunately, our front four still need improvement, especially with Jadeveon probably going to be out of Cleveland after his remarks, even though I think he was trying to save himself.
Right.
But we need to find some help up front, and I think our defense is going to be scary.
Yeah, I think. Well, no, you're absolutely right, and I personally hope Jadeveon Clowney's gone. That guy is just the fact. That the Joe Woods what came out with Jadeveon Clowney is like, I'm only going to play third down because he was mad. The fact that was not addressed, the lack of accountability, poison. So I want Clowney out. I'm done with him. But the problem is we don't have those things called draft picks. We don't have a first round pick. We don't have a third round pick this year. So, and for the Schwartz defense, apparently it's really that other end is nice, but it's all about that defensive tackle position.
Yeah, it's out in the middle. And let me just say this. Grant, you have a better chance of playing defensive end for the Browns in 2023 than Jadeveon Clowney does. There's no way Clowney's coming back after what happened. But in the wide nine, it's very important. You want to have your ends because they're put in position to really disrupt the quarterback play and cause havoc to the opposing offense. But the other key is you got to be strong in the middle, and I think that was going to be, no matter who was going to be the next defensive coordinator of the Browns, to me, defensive tackle needed to be, I think, the first priority, because I don't know about you guys, I'm tired of watching opposing teams running up and down the field against the Browns defense. And so, you don't have draft picks. Now, certainly you could try to trade back into the first round if you wanted to, or things like that. I think that the problem is going to be solved through a combination of free agency, you never know, maybe a trade, and drafting young like they did with Winfrey, and try to develop, and get help that way. Because the other thing you need is depth, not just talent. You need depth because, let's be honest. I mean, it's in 17 games in the war of attrition, you have injuries, and you got to be able to be strong in the middle.
Yeah, well, we saw that with the linebacker spot. We were on linebacker 4, and by fluke, Grant, it looks like to me, I'm bringing back Reggie Ragland. I'm bringing back Ragland, that bigger middle linebacker guy, because how that defense is set up, and if you look at the Schwartz defense, sort of at the aerial view, whatever, if you are soft, and to Dino's point, you need depth too. You don't need one guy, you need two, and you probably need 3, maybe 4. If you're soft in that middle, because those edges are so wide, if you don't have a thumper at linebacker to help fill it and those defensive tackles to get push, you're hosed. And we're going to be seeing guys run up the middle all the time because they funnel everything to the middle when it comes to the run.
Well, we'll also have Anthony Walker back as well.
Right.
I'm not sure when, but we know he'll be back. It'll be interesting to see what we do with guys like Deion Jones. Is he gone after this year, or is he coming back? I'm going to question JOK here, even though he's one of my favorite Browns. Is he big enough to be able to make it through an entire NFL season without being banged up over and over like we've seen the past 2 seasons? And then I think the other thing that we need to look at is our defensive backs, in particular our safeties. John Johnson, is he really the right guy to be back there? Because we've seen him blow so many coverages back there, but was it because of the Joe Woods defense or lack of communications? So I guess we'll find that out here real quick this offseason with Schwartz.
Yeah, and it could be both when it comes to lack of communication, lack of accountability, player. And Dino, when you look at, again, what you need with the Schwartz defense, it's a different type of safety. Now, Grant Delpit, now you got one of the right types, because Grant Delpit, he likes the one high safety. So Delpit can be moved down and used sort of on either blitzes, attacking the run, whatever. I think that's a sweet spot for Delpit. This is a good thing for Grant Delpit. But the other safety has to be sideline to sideline coverage guy. And I don't think John Johnson's that guy.
No, I honestly, I'm not sure either. And I think that's going to be something they look at very closely in the offseason. It's not necessarily that, they think Johnson can't play anymore, but, this is what happens when you change defenses, when you go from, 4-3 to a 3-4 or a philosophy of a wide 9. Sometimes the personnel doesn't always fit the system. And I would be really surprised if John Johnson III is back with the Browns this fall. But on the flip side, I do think, number one, Delpit's a draft pick, and they're still developing him, and he's in a favorable contract. But I think this defense might be set up for Delpit to really succeed. But they've got to figure out that communication gap from coach to unit. And, there was just too many times this year that, we saw wide open receivers, blown coverages, secondary men, and even linebackers looking at each other like, I thought you had him. I thought you had him. That's got to be addressed. But, yeah, it's just on the larger point. I would think John Johnson III might not be a fit for this system. And that's going to be another thing, guys, when you think about this defense for this year, this coming year. The Browns have to get leadership in the defense. Who's going to be accountable? And I know Anthony Walker was going to be that guy before he got hurt. He's defensive captain. But, who's going to be accountable on the field for the defense once the action starts? Who's going to make sure everybody's on the same page in that huddle? That's not really Myles Garrett's thing.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on that defense has to assume leadership.
Yeah, let Myles Garrett go get the quarterback. Okay, let him worry about that. Go get it, Myles. Do it. Don't drive too fast anymore. Stay on the field.
Please.
And Grant, when we look at the rest of this, the more I think about it, I know some people talk about wide receiver needing an upgrade there, and perhaps, but boy, man, I think the Browns just have to get as creative as possible to upgrade that defense. Because now when we're talking all three levels, and it gets larger as you come in. So a new safety, sideline to sideline. And to Dino's point earlier, Grant, you're not just one guy. Because if player A gets hurt, then you're hosed. So you need upgraded safety. Corners, I think you're good because they like to play a lot of man, and that fits. Linebacker, you need to get bigger. JOK can still certainly be a part of it, but you need those big body guys. And then, of course, on the D line, boy, we need at least 3 new guys, 2 D tackles, and another end. That's a lot with no draft picks or few draft picks.
And hopefully we can pick something up in free agency. It's going to be very interesting to see what this free agency market is going to look like. Probably a little bit older. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's really what we want because those older guys tend to need more money to come play wherever they're going to play. So hopefully we can move our draft picks around a little bit so we can pick a little bit further up the draft so we can have a player that has a reputation of being good instead of trying to develop him. Kind of like Perion Winfrey.
Yeah, well, like that, the Washington player who we played, Payne, he's the hot name. Seems 25 years old, new contract. That's where you want. Pay him. That's the guy.
Yeah, the guy you want a guy ideally who's played out his rookie deal and is looking for his first big payday, but he's in that 25, 26 years old, and you can maybe control him for 3 or 4 years while he gets into those peak years of his career, as opposed to, like Grant's saying, get somebody who's 29 or 30, who's more on the downslope of his career, who's going to cost more.
Right. Yes, exactly. We don't want to go back to the Willie McGinnis days where guys came here just to get paid at 35 and checked out. You need solid veterans. We need, just like Jim Schwartz, we need a guy that we know can do it, not maybes. Okay. We need Jim Schwartz. We went through it. We know he can do what he is set out to do. We didn't know about a lot of those other guys. Same with draft picks. We hope, but Andrew Berry's draft pick record overall, now you hit on DPJ, that's a phenomenal pick, but other than that, really, it's like, yeah, okay. There's been a bunch of misses, so you can't rely on that. And how deep do you go with free agency? That's really the question. Because, Grant, if you have this defense with Jim Schwartz come in with a similar personnel and it's not revamped, I don't care who's defensive coordinator, it's going to be ugly.
It will be, but hopefully Browns fans will be lenient enough to give him 3 years, at least 3 years. 3 to 5 years is what I believe it takes to change a culture. And hopefully from there, he can just keep building, even though we are handcuffed on what we can do in free agency and drafting.
Right. And Dino, when we look at the rest of the team, so we know defense, a lot of work. That's why Andrew Berry gets paid the big bucks. Hopefully they will. And by people worried about the salary cap, folks, the salary cap is a myth in the NFL. People can move money around. And look, if we look at the creative accounting and the smart people, the Browns have a lot of the smart people who can figure that out. The salary cap doesn't concern me. It's finding the right personnel that fits. So outside of defense, Dino, I mentioned wide receiver. Is that the biggest next outside the defense? Is wide receiver the next one, or what do you see?
Yeah, I think they'll look at and it's no bad reflection on Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think they love him and for good reason. And obviously Amari Cooper, you talk about hitting a home run in a trade. He was, but I think I think they're going to look at another receiver. They need speed on the outside, and they hoped it was Anthony Schwartz. I don't believe that's going to be the case. The dropsies, he's never been able to overcome that.
We got the right Schwartz now, Dino. We got the right Schwartz.
That's right. Exactly.
Get rid of the other one.
Exactly. So I think a speed wide receiver is certainly one priority. Guys, as they would say, we need to talk about the offensive line for a moment. The Cleveland Browns offensive line, by reputation, is one of the league's best. That's what, you talk to people nationwide, that's what they say. Oh, it's a great offensive line. Batonio is an all-pro. Wyatt Teller's really good. He's a former all-pro. Jack Conklin's an all-pro. This did not look like an all-pro offensive line unit this year. And I realized they were handcuffed at the start because Nick Harris went down with the injury before the season even started. But I'm not sold. I don't know about you guys. I'm not sold on Jed Wills as the long-term left tackle of this football team. And they, as a unit, they need to get better because, Deshaun Watson had, getting sacked 4 or 5 times and a half a couple of times, down the stretch. That's not going to work. And, there were times that you could tell that, they were trying to get Nick Chubb going and you would see the kind of the stone wall of a defense come right back at you. They've got to the offensive line has to be better for this team and this offensive system of Kevin Stefanski's to work.
No, it really does. And Grant, to Dino's point there, you got Jed Wills, question marks to say the least. Conklin, can he stay healthy at this point after getting the new extension? I think one of the biggest, probably the biggest to me, free agent re-signing is center Ethan Pocic. That dude came in, phenomenal job at center, but then he got hurt, and then we were, fourth the guy, and all that. But if you get Harris Froholt. Hey, the guy did good enough. Come on, what do you expect? But Grant, if we look at it, and you have Harris and Pocic back, that's good. But from Jed Wills, my concern is, if we want to replace him, you kind of can't because we don't have a first-round pick, and that's where you usually get those career left tackles.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be stuck with him for at least a year or another 2. I forget how many years is left on his this contract that he currently
one more.
has. I believe so.
Yeah.
So we got at least one more year with him before we can start looking at making a change. But on the other part of that, Deshaun Watson, I think he was getting sacked a little bit just because he was holding onto that ball, not comfortable in this offense. But as that little short season went on for him, he started looking more comfortable in the pocket, started making plays with his legs. So I think with all the questions around Wills, I think we'll still be okay just because of the athlete we have as a quarterback.
Well, really, it has to be. The excuses are gone. You had the rust, 700 days, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
It's gone. You're also going to be working with the head coach to customize the offense to you. This wasn't a Deshaun Watson customized offense. He's talked about the offensive line has to learn to sort of improv with how long he's controlled the ball, because if he does get away from those sacks, good things can happen. So that's all part of it. But really, if Deshaun Watson is not a Pro Bowler and not the best quarterback, or at least tied with Joe Burrow in that division, this trade is a bust. You didn't get this. I can get average or above average with Baker Mayfield. I had that.
Yeah. When you expend the resources, and this was why I, going back to March, I was against the trade, and it had less to do with the baggage and more to do with what you were giving up. When you spend 3 first-round picks and you give a player the largest guaranteed contract in NFL history, he can't just be a top 15 or top 20 quarterback. He has to be, as you say, best in the division, and he's got to be one of the 5 best in the league. We watched the playoffs right now, and the common denominator for all these teams they've got elite quarterbacks. Now you can say, well, okay, fine, Daniel Jones, whatever. But I mean, you talk about when you talk about Allen and Burrow and Mahomes and Prescott. I mean, this is the NFL. You've got to have better than average quarterback play. You've got to have an elite quarterback play, and the Browns spent for a absolutely elite quarterback, and we have to see that in 2023, and not just like we saw. If you look at the last 6 games, you guys might disagree, but the only time I felt like we were seeing an elite quarterback was the second half of that Washington game.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of the time, it looked like a guy still trying to figure out, oh, yeah, this is the NFL, and this is what I have to do. And nobody said it was I think we all knew realistically it was going to take time for Watson to, get his bearings again. But, Andy, I think to your point, he's going to have all off season. You're not going to have the cloud of uncertainty hanging over him like he did last year. So it's going to be put up time for him.
Straight up. That's it. You got to put it up. Otherwise, there's going to be a total regime change, possibly top to bottom, if they miss the playoffs. Yeah. Top to bottom. And it has to be. Okay, guys, where do we rank the teams in the AFC North right now, pre-offseason? And hopefully with all the free agents we talked about on defense, the Browns will skyrocket up. But Grant, let's start with you. How are we ranking this AFC North as it stands today?
All right. Top, I have Cincinnati. They're the team to beat, obviously. Look where they're at right now. Then I'm going to go Cleveland, number 2, because you got Baltimore that still got questions at their quarterback. Is Lamar coming back, or is it going to be somebody else running that offense? And then you still got Pittsburgh. They're still trying to figure out that Kenny Pickett situation. He's still a young guy. But I think this NFC North or AFC North, I'm sorry, is strong just like it always is from top to bottom. So this order could be any order by the end of next season.
I think you're right. And it's very close. Like we're talking 1 through 4, but the margin seems pretty tight because as much on paper, you look at the Squealers and the Ratbirds and you just look at them and it's just like, we should be putting the boots to them, but they're well coached. They just hang around. They're never an easy out.
It's a lot of it just has to do with their culture. I mean, I was having conversations with people this week, about what could happen next year if the Browns get off to a tough start. Like Pittsburgh did. Let's say the Browns get off to a 1-4 start. Oh. Are the Haslams going to be patient with Kevin Stefanski? Well, has that been their MO in the past? Well, no, not in the case of Hugh Jackson in 2018, it was not. Now there were other things going on, but the record wasn't great. But the Steelers stuck with, Mike Tomlin and came within an eyelash of making the playoffs. The Baltimore Ravens, they didn't get off to a great start either, and they made the playoffs. I agree. The margin, I think the Bengals are number 1, and there's no question. I think they're the best team in the division, best team in the AFC, from last year. I would probably have the Ravens 2, because the Browns have a better quarterback situation. I'll put them at 3, and then the Steelers at 4. But even though the Lamar Jackson thing is fluid, and boy, I'll tell you what, you read between the tea leaves right now in Baltimore, it doesn't look like he's going to be back there. But things can change. But you have to give a tip of the cap to the culture in Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and that's one of the things that the Browns are still finding. And I think Grant made the statement earlier. Sometimes it does take 3 to 5 years for a coach to really develop an overall philosophy and culture on the team. We're kind of approaching that here with Kevin Stefanski, and that's why I think this upcoming year is going to be so important for him as well as the Browns.
Yeah, you're number 4 for Stefanski, but it's a bit of a reboot year for, because you have the first full year under Watson. You have to retweak that offense. You have a new defense coming in. Yeah, if it's for me, if I'm ranking, I'm going Cincinnati 1. I'll go Ravens 2. I'll go Browns 3 and Pittsburgh 4. Just to the point, like you look at how long those coaches have been there. Harbaugh, 15 years, Tomlin, similar, whatever, right? They've been around. But it's there for the Browns to take, gentlemen. It's right there. It's right. You just have to get out of your own way. That's it. You have more talent. but they will always play smart. They will play you tough, and there's never an easy out with them, and that's the thing. So with Greg Roman leaving, that's interesting because that was Baltimore, because that whole offense was built around Lamar Jackson. I got one thing to say too, guys. I'm sorry. The conversation with people saying, oh, Baltimore needs a wide receiver. They've been getting them wide receivers for 5 years. At some point, it's not you, it's them. And the them is Lamar Jackson. Can't throw the football well enough. You had wide receivers. How'd Marquise Hollywood Brown look with Kyler Murray? Pretty good.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
it's Lamar.
If you're playing defense against the Ravens, you're making Lamar throw the ball to the numbers. He can't make that throw.
That's it. And he hasn't been able to stay on the field. The best ability is availability. He hasn't progressed like other mobile quarterbacks, Dino. How about a Josh Allen? That guy can use his legs, but guess what? Got a cannon arm. How about Jalen Hurts? Started year one legs, developed with the passing. How about Justin Fields? We know well from Ohio State with the Bears. He hasn't progressed on the passing side. So for us as Browns fans, we should hope that the Ravens give all the money to Lamar Jackson. Take all of it, because that's a bust.
I remember thinking when the Browns gave Watson that contract, I'm like, this is going to make a lot of teams around the NFL very unhappy when it comes to negotiating time with their franchise quarterbacks. But this is always the thing with Lamar Jackson. He was an MVP and he was very effective because Greg Roman, I always felt, put him in the best position to succeed with the way he would operate that offense. And, now that Roman's gone and, I agree with you guys. I think Jackson's weaknesses have been exposed a little bit. That's why I think things are so contentious right now between Jackson's people and the Ravens as they try to hammer out a deal or just say, okay, look, sorry, couldn't work out, but go to free agency and let somebody give you $250 million. It's going to be
Lamar Jackson, the agent, though, because he's his own agent.
Yeah.
So he.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's the case. That's even. You know what? That's even more telling then that player and organization are this far apart right now.
Interesting. All right, guys. I think we solved all the Browns' problems today. I think we did it. Done. Mission accomplished.
I hope.
Tell everybody. Grant, we'll start with you then, Dino. Tell everyone where they can find you. And we'll do another Dog Bowl roundtable real soon. Where can they find you, Grant?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Grant_Gillen. It's right here underneath me. Then you can also find my work on IDP Guys Network on YouTube. I do all the video editing over there. Used to run a live start-sit show on Sundays, so we're going to figure out a new show for me to run during this offseason. So if you're interested in IDP fantasy football, go find us. And a bourbon connoisseur like myself is Grant as well. Dino, where can we find you, brother? You can find me on Twitter at Dino Cleveland. You can also find a lot of the stories and columns and articles we write about the Browns at WKYC.com. And we'll be certainly throughout the offseason doing special programs, roundtables, things like that with guys, Jay Crawford, Jim Donovan, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the voice of the Browns. Can't go wrong there. So, right. all our Browns coverage at WKYC.com. Yeah, always great stuff over there. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the Dog Bowl. Let's do it again soon. Yes, absolutely. You got it. All right, there they go. There we are, folks. All right, Browns roundtable in the books. Now, time to get down to some money. Okay, NFL playoffs, which the Browns are not in, unfortunately, again. But that doesn't mean we can't jump in and get to it with some sick picks. It's time for sick picks. And we welcome in from our buddies at Betfred Sportsbook, Drew Garrison on the line. Drew, how are you, sir? I'm good, man. How are you? Can you hear me all right? I got you perfect, man. We're both wearing orange. You got the better orange team at the moment. Who day? Hey, I got Browns versus the world, against the world. I guess the world won against us, but I got this hoodie from my buddies at LFG Cincy. They make a lot of really good stuff. Very nice. Well, glad to have you back on, my friend. And you know what? Let's kick through these games here because when we look at it through the Betfred Sportsbook, and by the way, folks, you get your exclusive bonuses, weekly prizes, tons of great stuff. Look right there, Ohio. Come on, Ohio. Look, boom, right there on your phone. Nice and easy. The link to do that is right in the description of this show and on social media. So just click on there and sign up, and you get your bonus. You get your weekly prizes all from Betfred Sports. This weekend, Drew, super interesting to me because
When we look at the spreads, when we look at some props, there's a lot of meat here. Let's start Jaguars versus Chiefs. First thought to me, and I'm sure most people, is like, the Chiefs will wipe the floor with them in Arrowhead. I don't know about that because of how well coached they are. That 9 points is spooking me a little bit. I might like the Jaguars to cover that. Where are you?
I do like the Jags to cover. And I have immense respect for the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Yeah. There's supposed to be a Bengals-Chiefs rivalry thing with the fans. Some Bengals fans suck, some Chiefs fans suck. It is what it is. I don't have any beef with the Chiefs. I think the fact that the Bengals have had so much recent success against the Chiefs is cool because of how much I respect that football team. Something about the Jags, though, I still think the Chiefs win. I selfishly want the Jags to win. That way, if the Bengals knock off Buffalo, we get a home AFC championship game. But realistically speaking, I think the Chiefs win, but I think it's closer than people think. I think the Jags do cover.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Trevor Lawrence, here's the difference, though. You got to clean up that 4 interceptions real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to be forced into a shootout. So if you go that route, you're not playing the Chargers coach. You're playing Andy Reid right now. So
you throw 4 picks against the Chiefs and give Patrick Mahomes 4 extra opportunities. He's going to make you pay on at least 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Any props that jump out to you on this one? I kind of like the Trevor Lawrence maybe over on passing.
So as I was looking through that, the passing props, the QB props section is what I've been looking at a lot. Trevor Lawrence over 248.5 is something that I actually like. Mm-hmm. I think that he's found his way, and I said since midseason he's finally washed that Urban Meyer stank off of him. Yes. Is what I think.
It's gone.
A lot of it is, and he's finding Zay Jones. He's finding the rebirth of Marvin Jones a little bit. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be close. I'm taking Trevor over 248.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it was remarkable too what the Jags have done with really on paper pedestrian weapons. Like if you just look, if you have a casual NFL fan. Christian Kirk, you're looking at a whole bunch of WR3s on other teams carrying the load.
Yeah, they paid the Jacksonville tax to get Christian Kirk to come there, right? This isn't a shot at the Browns by any means. I know we're division rivals, but there was a point in time where Cleveland had to pay guys extra money to get them to come there. And that's kind of where Jacksonville was, and they did that with Christian Kirk. But yeah, they'll get Calvin Ridley next year where, betting got him in a little bit of trouble. But so they'll be better. But yeah, I think that Doug Peterson is the one to thank there. I think the growth of Trevor Lawrence is big, and I think Doug Peterson is just a great coach, and he's been able to overcome some of the talent deficiencies that they had. And, they kind of squeaked in with not a great record in the playoffs, but hey, they got in. They advanced to the divisional round, so you got to give them that respect. And I don't know. I think Trevor's going to sling the thing around. I think they're going to hang with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and they got hot at the right time, which we know is so important. The night game for Saturday, Giants at Eagles, 7.5-point favorites are the Eagles. And this, although the Eagles swept the season series, the Week 18 Giants didn't play anybody, so take that for what you will. These division games are so difficult, right? Because you get some weird stuff that happens. There's the familiarity. I might be in a similar situation as I was with the Chiefs-Jaguars games here, Drew, where I think the Eagles are going to win. I love the talent. I love the excitement. But Brian Daboll, a hell of a coaching job. I think they could hang. To me, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Eagles maybe in control for most of the game, never pulling away, and then winning by 3 to 5 points or something.
All right, I'm gonna spice it up, and I don't know what response I'm gonna get from your listeners here. I took Giants money line.
Oh my, to win!
I think the Giants beat Philadelphia Saturday night. I think that Philly's very good. I think that Jalen Hurts is rightfully in the MVP conversation. Nick Sirianni is rightfully in the Coach of the Year conversation. Brian Daboll is my Coach of the Year. I don't think the Eagles have really played anybody all that good. And I got this weird feeling about Saquon. If we want to talk props, if I look at the line, TD scores, Saquon, easy money. Rushing props on him, they've got the over under at his rushing yards at 70.5. I think he goes over. I think he scores 1, maybe 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. Something tells me that the Giants are going to squeak this thing out, and they're going to go face the Cowboys for the I kind of gave a spoiler there. They're going to face the Cowboys for the NFC Championship.
What's that money line on the Giants at?
Let me pull it back up. I placed the bet a couple of days ago, so it might have moved. But when I look at it now,
But what's
Giants money line's plus 280 right now.
That's pretty good. If you believe the Giants can do it, why not? Right?
And that's kind of my thing when I look at it. It's, okay, I think the Giants are probably going to win. That's just a feeling that I got in my gut. Why not throw $20 on it? And you'll come up a little bit.
See what happens.
And if I lose, I lose. I'm not confident enough to put a couple $100 on it by any means, but that's just the feeling that I've had in my gut the last couple of days.
Right, the salt guy, put a little sprinkle on, right? That's it.
Yeah, make it a little more interesting.
That's right. I love that. Okay, Sunday, to me, the main event, and certainly to you, Bengals Bills 3:00. Now here's tell me you're closer to the Cincy situation than I am, but this is my thinking. Okay, Bills, there's going to be emotion. This is where they should play the DeMar Hamlin emotion card at home, of course, right? The Bengals,
and I expect them to.
The Bengals, though, if you look like Drew, so often we hear people, chip on the shoulder. It's overused, and quite often it's fake. In this case for Cincinnati, the chip, you can Pringles stack these chips on them because
it's there.
Drew, the world doesn't want you to win. The world doesn't want Cincinnati. They want the feel-good Hollywood story and all that because of the DeMar Hamlin thing. And, it would be a great story. But for Cincinnati, nobody wants you to win. Oh, by the way, defending AFC Conference champs, the NFL screwed you and fluffed you and said, don't worry about it, little Bengals. Don't worry about it. I think if they can get through that first quarter, in Buffalo, either tied or striking distance, Cincinnati wins this ball game.
I'm going to the game, so I'm making the trip to Buffalo.
Well, be careful, man. They swing there. They swing. Be careful.
They throw punches?
Oh, yeah, man. They're drunk as hell. I was at a Browns game. I almost got to a fight with someone over Johnny Manziel back in 2014. Thank God I pulled back. He wasn't worth it.
I went to Manziel. I went to Manziel's first start in Cleveland. That was kind of spicy.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm going up there. This is where I think the easiest money of all comes for me. I'm going to pull it back up to make sure it hasn't moved since I looked at it last. The over under on rushing yards for Joe Mixon is 48.5. I understand that Joe Mixon has not had a great year. The Bengals running game in general has not had a great year. They had some success when Pirine was the starter. Mixon had that big 5-touchdown game against Carolina. Other than that, I'm kind of a guy where I'm like, this offense doesn't use a running back. I don't know why we're paying $12 million a year, but he's there. He's on the team. He's had a chip on his shoulder a lot recently. The coin flip celebration was awesome. I'm taking the over on Mixon. I'm feeling a big Mixon day. I'm taking the over on Mixon rushing yards. I'm probably going to bet a few more dollars on that than I already have, just because I really think he's going to get it going. And I think that's going to be the difference because Bengals O-line's obviously banged up. Kappa's not playing. Jonah Williams isn't playing. Bengals O-line has been the concern for the team for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's there. But I watched Skylar Thompson put up 31 points on the Bills last week. And they had a big O-line shuffle right before the game, too. At least the Bengals have a week of practice to get their guys set.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to the Bills. I think the Bills are a great team. I think the environment's going to be crazy. I expect DeMar Hamlin to probably be there, which will give everybody a juice, Bengals fans included, because I was at the Monday night game and saw everything transpire. Every Bengals fan on the planet is rooting for DeMar Hamlin.
Oh, of course.
And there's always been this really cool mutual respect between Bengals fans and Bills fans anyway, ever since that 2017 game where the Bengals had nothing to play for, but they knocked off Baltimore to get the Bills into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
They did all the charity donations to Andy Dalton's thing. So, there's so much like mutual respect there that I think it's going to be a fun environment. I hope I don't get punched, but hey, if I do, it's kind of part of the game. You take it. I piss a lot of people off on the internet every day, so it could happen. But we'll be prepared for that. But I don't know. I'm feeling a big Joe Mixon game. I think this could be a 24-21 type game where whoever has the ball last is going to come away with the win. And they say you don't bet on your own team, and I've been breaking that rule ever since sports betting became legal in Ohio, and I'm going to break it again. I'm taking the Bengals. I'm taking the money line. I'm going straight money line on this one. I can't do any spreads or anything like that because I don't want to find some oh, well, at least we covered if we lose. I want to feel all of the pain on the 6-hour drive home if we lose. I want to soak it all out. I want to take it all for what it is.
All of it for what it is. I wonder, too, maybe on that Mixon, you're talking rushing, maybe a total yards because when I'm looking here, he's getting 5-6 catches a game type of thing, too, right? I don't know if that might be a little something to consider. Take a look at what the line is there on Betfred and see what's up with that. But Joe Mixon's always kind of mad, and he seems like extra mad.
Yeah. There's a little he always kind of has that edge about him, but it seems to be a little bit more.
Yeah,
it seems to be a little more.
He's got some stuff. Cowboys 49ers. You said it earlier. You think Cowboys 49ers favored by 4. Coaching advantage goes to the 49ers with Shanahan. So as long as Mike McCarthy doesn't screw it up late, Cowboys got the horses to hang.
That's kind of the way I feel about it. I think the Brock Purdy story is awesome. I think Brock Purdy's cool as hell. I love him out there beating on his chest and flexing. I think that's dope. I think those stories are always awesome. Yeah. I'm not a big believer in Dak. I'm really not. But something just tells me this is a big Micah Parsons game. And the moment gets a little bit too big for Purdy. And I think there might be just one critical mistake that gives Dallas the edge. I love Kyle Shanahan, though. He's like hip and cool and modern. He's got the flat bill. He looks like if Thrasher Magazine sponsored an NFL coach, and I think that's awesome. But something just tells me that the Purdy situation is going to be the difference, and unfortunately, I think the moment might get a little too big for him, and Dallas comes away with a win in a close game, though.
I think it depends, too, if Dallas can get – the key for the Cowboys thing is to strike early and make Purdy – get Shanahan out of the comfort zone of that system. Make him have to make deep throws. Make him have to come back, because if you keep it close, and you got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and that defense too. I think it is going to be close though.
You got to get up 2-3 touchdowns on them though, because Shanahan will run the ball no matter what.
Absolutely.
He will wait until he is absolutely forced to get away from running the ball to do it. You got to build a pretty sizable lead on them to get them to stop running the rock though. That's one thing, and a lot of times it works out for him. You see a guy down 21 points and he's still running the ball, and next thing you know, he's right back in it because they're that good at it.
Well, and Drew, lead the leader again, 6 straight year yards after the catch. They don't have to throw it far. And you got and you added Christian McCaffrey. Makes a ton of sense. Any prop for that game, the Cowboys 49ers game?
So I'm taking the over on Christian McCaffrey rushing yards. I'm looking at my bet slip. I'm going to pull it up just so we can give the most recent up-to-date lines. So total rushing yards on McCaffrey, 65.5. I think that's easy money to go over. I have him as an anytime touchdown scorer also, which at this point is minus 150. So it's a lot lower. I could see a little bit of action of giving him first touchdown score at plus 500 though, because I think that if they get the ball first, they could go down the field and McCaffrey can get a little bit loose. But yeah, if it gets to a situation where Brock Purdy's going to have to drop back 30, 35 times a game, I think the Micah Parsons factor takes over.
Interesting. Boy, this is going to be a fun weekend. Well, you know what? It's a case where I think I've told you this before. I hate the Ravens. I hate the Steelers. I respect the Bengals. Cousins. We're cousins from Paul Brown. I respect it. I won't want good things for you when you're playing us, but I don't hate you as much as I would be rooting against Ravens and the Squealers. So good luck to your Bengals, man.
That's always the way I feel. My best friend's a huge Browns fan. I got a lot of fans that are Browns fans, and it's always Baltimore. You have the worst fans on the entire internet that exist anywhere.
Oh, I
absolutely
hate them. I hate them.
Obviously I hate the Steelers, but yeah, I've never really had a beef with the Browns, but I think that it could ratchet up because I think they're going to get ready to be consistently good. I think when the team's consistently good, there's going to be a little bit more, of a heated thing there. But then again, the last 5 years or so, the Browns have had our numbers. So, but yeah, there's always been like a mutual respect. We kind of come together when we're Ohio against Baltimore or Pittsburgh. So there's like a cousin type thing there. So yeah, and the Browns fans are easily the coolest to me on Twitter. They're the nicest ones out of all the division rival fans. They're easily the nicest ones.
There you go, man.
So yeah, I always have a good respect for them.
All right, brother. Stay away from any burning tables in Buffalo.
Listen, through them. If we get the win, I'm jumping through one.
Yes. Okay. Well, where can people follow you on Twitter? Because I know you'll post it.
So my Twitter is just at Drew Garrison. It's right here on the screen, my first and last name. Before you come with the jokes, I did pay Elon Musk $8. Ha, ha, ha. Very funny. But yeah, I'm there. I'm in the trenches all day taking bullets, talking shit, and getting myself in trouble. And a lot of times being a complete moron. So, but I have a lot of fun with it, so it's all good.
That's what it's all about, man. All right. Have fun. Thank you so much, Drew. Always good.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right. See you, brother. There he goes. Drew Garrison from Betfred Sportsbook. And hey, like you said, Ohio, come together. Okay. We're coming together in the link right underneath the show. All you got to do is click on it and you get those sweet, like the exclusive bonuses. They're creative. There's a lot. There's like over $1,000 of gameplay and stuff. Like it's stuff you don't find on other sites, as well as the weekly prizes. We gave away a Nick Chubb autographed jersey. All you got to do is register, make your first deposit, and you get in. That's it. Then you're in on all that. That's the fun stuff. And if you're a fantasy football player, I know a lot of you listening are, and you want that sweet, sweet merch, well, you go to the team shop here, Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. That link is also the description of the show. It's packed with goodness. You click on there, you can get your fantasy football champion shirt, your professional fantasy football player shirt, some very unique Browns gear, Nick Chubb, a whole bunch of other stuff, as well as our friends at Trophy Smack, trophysmack.com/Andy, very easily, trophysmack.com/Andy. You get an exclusive discount if you use code AMC. And their stuff is unmatched. I've met the owner, Matt Walsh, in person many times. This guy's such a great dude, full of energy. Championship belts. You got the wrestling belt, brother. You got championship rings. You got trophies. It's great. So trophysmack.com/Andy if you want some great fantasy football. They also got the toilet bowl stuff too. So if you finish last, you want to punish somebody in your league, they got you covered there too. One other best bet here, a sick pick. I'm going with Giants. Eagles game, and I'm going anytime touchdown with Boston Scott. My buddy Griff, he told me about this at the start of the year. If you look at the game log, whenever the Eagles play the Giants and Boston Scott is playing, he always gets a touchdown. Always. Whatever reason. He might get one touch, he gets a touchdown. I'm not sure if it's 100% of the time, but it is super high. So if you want to put a little simple parlay, I'm not sure what it is on Betfred Sports right now, but it's in the pluses. And anytime Boston Scott touchdown, hopefully you'll be thanking me later for that. Thank you for watching. Thanks to Dino. Thanks to Grant. Thanks to Drew. Thanks to Sammy. Thanks to the whole Sick Podcast crew. Next week, we'll be talking more about the Browns offseason. We'll break down each position group throughout this offseason. We'll also start getting into some deep dives into the draft. Senior Bowl's coming up. Combine's coming up. And really, folks, we gotta be doing our homework because we don't have a first round pick or a third round pick. So we gotta talk to some of the draft experts. Who should we be looking for? Who are some guys that might be some value picks that we'll need? So we'll get into that throughout the offseason. So make sure you're subscribed, you're following on social media, and all that good stuff. So thank you, everybody. You've been listening and watching the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. Go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.